Yeah, so we've turned left there, come down, and it says when you're almost at the railway track.
It's 5:30 in the morning and the temperature's barely above freezing. We're out with the rural homeless team in Woods, half an hour north of Norwich.
We'll just walk down a little bit and see if we can find a way over.
They have a list of sightings. It's a list that's getting longer.
Could be here, so we'll just have a look around this area.
As dawn breaks, hidden behind a crumbling old signal box, we find Connolly.
Hello? Ah, hello, good morning. Is that Connolly? Yeah. Hi Connolly, it's Becky from the Rough Sleeper team.
He's 24 and has been sleeping out here for the last 3 weeks.
Well, I got into quite a bad fight, and it caused me to lose where I was living. But not only that, I lost my job. I used to be a housekeeper, but no, after that night, I've sort of lost everything. Managed to find this tent for £5. I used the last bit of money I had.
You obviously look really cold, Connolly.
Yeah, it is getting really cold now. And, you know, it's such a risk, you know, especially for people that can just get hypothermia and that. It's quite scary. I've definitely hit my lowest point.
How much of a priority then for you now is ensuring that tonight he's somewhere warm?
That is my priority today. That is my goal, to make sure I get back to the office, find him somewhere to be, and get him into accommodation tonight. Now, he's been rough sleeping in a tent. You are picking up a young man called Connolly. As soon as you can, please.
Connolly's situation is not unique. The number of people homeless in rural England is rising. There are a multitude of reasons. Less funding, a lack of social housing, lower wages and high numbers of second homes are just a few of them.
To be honest, in rural communities, house prices, rents and so on are completely out of whack with local wages, which makes it really hard to live in the countryside unless you're on a very good salary. It's actually the case that the demand for social housing is increasing 6 times faster than the supply.
Newquay, on the north coast of Cornwall. Just metres from the beach is the Sandy Lodge Hotel. Its 50-plus rooms are full, but there are no tourists. Inside are the hidden homeless.
This hotel is completely full of people who are on the waiting list for housing here in Cornwall. Many of them were working full-time, they were paying private rents, and one decision by their landlord has completely changed their lives.
Hiya, Kim. How you doing?
Hi.
Dan, nice to meet you. How you doing?
Too.
Who's this?
This is Charlie.
How old's Charlie?
He's 10 months old.
Among them is Kim. She, her partner and 3 kids have been living in this hotel for 4 months.
So this is your room?
Yeah, this is where we live.
So there's the 5 of you in here?
Yes. My landlord's decided to sell the house, so we were made homeless, really. And that's as simple as it gets.
So you've gone from a 3-bedroom house to...
1 room.
1 room?
Yeah.
How do you feel, sort of having privately rented, technically being homeless now?
It hurts. It hurts a lot. I mean, like I said, we were told it was our forever home. We were there 2.5 years, and then we were given 2 months to leave. And it's like, you know, there's so many second homes, there's so many Airbnbs, there's so many places that could be used to house local people especially. But there are a lot of people, I think, that come down from up country with the idea that Cornwall's the best place ever, and it's really not. Like, it's beautiful, but it's not under the surface.
Living in 1 room for months on end, with no end in sight, is taking its toll.
All we want is a home. That's it. My kids, my 4-year-old cried on Christmas Day because all she wanted from Santa was a home. And, you know, it broke my heart because I can't give her that at the minute. I don't have the means, I don't have the money to be able to do that. And I'd give anything to be able to get a home for my children.
Funding to help people like Kim is a big problem. Researchers from the universities of Kent and Southampton have recently found that government money for local authorities to tackle homelessness is 65% less per person in rural areas compared to urban. And while the overall number of homeless in the countryside is lower than in cities, that number is rising sharply. Exclusive analysis for Sky News by CPRE, the countryside charity, has found that the number of people homeless in rural England has risen by more than 21% since 2018. There were more than 17,000 people classed as homeless in rural areas in 2018 to 19, but last year that number jumped to nearly 21,000. Rural parts of the east and the southwest of England have the highest numbers. The situation is so bad here that Cornwall Council is spending £40,000 every single day putting people in emergency accommodation.
Put it bluntly, at the moment, we just haven't got enough housing available for local people to buy or rent. There's a shortage of housing, full stop.
One temporary solution is to build dedicated pods.
So behind you right now are 15 solar house units. Each one accommodates one person, and they provide a stepping stone for people who have, through no fault of their own, have found themselves in need of a house.
The council wants up to 500 of them placed in pockets of land where people need them most.
It's Cornwall Council's #1 priority is to address the housing crisis. What we've seen is, over the last number of decades, a slowly building crisis that was exacerbated by the pandemic, which acted as a catalyst to really highlight the amount of housing inequality across Cornwall.
Building more social homes is the council's long-term plan, but that will take years. Right now, millions is going on temporary solutions.
It's a huge amount of money, but it has provided a necessary service. However, temporary accommodation isn't good enough. I think we need more social housing and more sort of sufficient longer-term solutions to the problems that we face.
The government says building more affordable homes is key to solving rural homelessness, but that simply isn't happening anywhere near the level that it needs to be. So at the minute, you've got a lot of sticking plaster solutions. But we have heard of one place back in Norfolk that's doing more to help the homeless than just putting a roof over their heads. In a place called Ditchingham, there's a massive old convent. In 2011, a group of nuns gifted it to the homeless. It's run by the charity Emmaus. Companions, as they're known, are given bed and board, but they also work a 40-hour week, paid, in cafes and shops that they set up.
Firstly, people are supporting themselves, so they're not getting a handout. So we are supporting people to gain self-worth and maintain that and build skills and build their self-esteem to a point that they feel able to move on potentially.
Chloe's 22 and was living in her car before coming here. She says having a home and a fresh purpose has saved her life.
They've got me through so much, mentally, through my addictions, absolutely everything, family stuff, every aspect. They've got me through more than what anywhere else has, to be honest. So they've saved my life in one way. So, because I could, if I didn't have here, I'd be back in my car on the streets and I'd probably relapse and be drinking and using again.
In some of our most rural areas, becoming homeless is an ever-growing risk. The government says it's giving councils £366 million to help house those in need and has built more than 243,000 affordable homes since 2010. But campaigners say it's not enough.
First and foremost, we need to see a massive social house building programme, which we haven't seen in this country for years, and we want a significant proportion of that for rural communities where the problem is particularly acute. That's the only way to solve this in the longer term. It's something that we've really underinvested in this country, and that's what we want to see change as soon as possible.
In Norwich, there's been a change of luck for Connolly.
Hi, Connolly. Come through.
Just 8 hours after we found him in a tent, he's been given somewhere to sleep for at least 8 weeks.
They definitely moved quickly. I was actually surprised how quick they managed to get me into a room.
So we've got bedding and everything provided for you. Okay, there's some plates and bits over there. A food parcel. You've got a fridge and a microwave. There's some toiletries.
Oh, I'm just so relieved. I'm really grateful, for what they've done. Helped me come here. So I'm definitely going to sleep well. I know it'll take a few days to adjust, but it's definitely better than being outside.
For Connolly, it is a chance to rebuild, but not everyone facing homelessness gets this opportunity in what is a growing crisis in rural England.